Good morning. Welcome to Social Surge with Fly and Mo, waiting to go live on the gram.
Come on.
There we go. I'm live on the gram over here. I am Mo Regalado.
I always have to go into
and over there is Fly Jamerson.
Hello. I figured out what was wrong with my mic the other day.
Oh, yeah?
I had my notebook on top of it. It's lifted up. I'm lifted. I have a lifter or a stand for my computer, and then I have a keyboard. But then I have one of my trip notebooks.
Yeah.
It's boom, like right, or it's my Remarkable, right? So I sometimes forget to reset for the scope of it, which I was thinking about because we're recording some things upcoming that are exciting, and I thought I needed to get myself together. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Dwayne, who is coming to us on LinkedIn.
Oh, he's on LinkedIn today. Good morning to Regalado Real Estate, who's joining us over on the gram. Thanks for being with us. It is Tuesday, and I can't believe we're already like halfway through, 3/4 of the way through August, something like that. It's a lot. Just as a little plug for CREI Summit, it is happening in like 20 some odd days. That is just bonkers to me. You can still get tickets, CREISummit.com. I believe that there are still some discount codes available from some ambassadors. I don't remember who the ambassadors are. I probably should. However, I'm sure you can reach out to Mr. Ken Ashley and ask him if there's an ambassador code somewhere that you can use for a discount. We are expecting a great group of people, an amazing event filled with tons of valuable information that you guys can use to help build your business, not just on social media, but in marketing in general. I'm looking forward to it this year.
Yeah.
And it's gonna be good.
It's gonna be crazy. One of the things, so on Thursdays, Warren Tingen has been hosting X Spaces with a lot of CREI leadership and people who are attending, or giving kind of hyping up and ramping up to the summit. And one thing that is really incredible about this community, whether you're on the fence about coming or you're coming for the first time, is that when you get plugged in with each other at the conference, you will be plugged in with them online throughout the rest of the year. And so the summit obviously is this amazing, like, everyone's convening, we're climbing the mountain together. It's a summit, right? So I always sort of laughed at, like, why do we call it this? But it's like, yes, we're coming together, in this moment. And, so it's really powerful to be in the room with people, as we all know. And so it's, and the thing that I heard most recently, I think George Pino said this from CBI in the last session on X, was that, he is a leader in his firm and in the industry and online, and quite an advanced, user some of these power users are. And, they come back because they are learning something new, because this space is constantly evolving, right? But the one thing that does not evolve or change is the importance of being authentic in your content. That was an amazing segue, and I'm so sorry I said authentic.
That was beautiful. No, it was chef's kiss. Beautiful. So that was perfect, because today we are talking about your authentic voice and how to keep it that way on social media. So we all know when we see a Chat GPT post, we know we can, maybe we don't know. Maybe that's, and that's a great question for the audience. Maybe, can you tell when a post is Chat GPT written? Right? Are there little things? Now, some of the things kind of frustrate me because I'm a listicle writer. I write in lists. I use ellipses. I'm a big fan of the Oxford comma. Everything has to be in threes.
Oh, there was a fight about that on LinkedIn somewhere yesterday.
So I'm a huge fan of the Oxford comma, and my writing has always been, again, listicle, threes. Like there's certain things in my brain that my writing has to have. And so then when Chat GPT is putting that crap out there. I'm like, damn it, dude, that's how I write. Stop doing that.
Well, what's interesting is that like the pushback against AI in and specifically in utilizing it to write your content. I mean, I think there's two sides of the coin here. And so, but to get frustrated about the formulaicness of it, is one thing, but like formulas and writing go back throughout the dawn of writing. Actually. Right. So, I don't think, when I see people talking about the formatting specifically, or like the M dash, or like all this stuff, and like the discourse that people are having around that, for me, the biggest flag of the use of AI and in a way that we find unpalatable or detrimental to what you're trying to do with your content, because like 100% use AI. And we're going to talk about, and we always talk about, all the different ways that you can and should be using AI to, help with production, help with editing, help with formatting, distribution, all these things, right? Like, but for me, the biggest flag and the biggest, I guess, like faux pas or something, like when I can tell, is when it's information that is not specific, that anybody could say, that has been said before in that way, and could be said by and could be said by anyone, and then is not you. And so it's like, if I can't see you, if I can't hear you inside of that to me is the biggest thing of like, oh, you may be generating content.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think that's the reason why we're bringing this up, is because we have seen a bunch of content that's come out recently where it stops the scroll, but not in a good way, because it's more of the bubble question mark, bubble question mark, the little thought bubble above your head, right? Yeah. Like it makes you tilt your head and you're like, oh, this isn't right. It's not a good stopping of the scroll. It is more of like, this doesn't look like this person actually wrote that.
Dwayne's comment here, bring it up.
I got it.
I mean, tidy up. Look, so many people are using this tool.
Hold on. With that point though, Dwayne, seriously, chat, I would rather somebody put in there, I asked ChatGPT this and this is what it said, right?
Because at least then you're sharing how you think.
Not only that, but you're being honest about the fact that you asked a question. And literally, so I mean, if we're thinking about this and we're thinking about content, you could potentially make this a series. Today I asked ChatGPT, and then you put the question, this is how Chat responded. This is how I feel. This is what I think. This is my hot take on what ChatGPT said. That could be an entire content series that would actually be fun, because guess what? We're hearing your voice in that too, right? Because you're responding to chat, because you're responding and you're giving your opinion, like that full on could be an entire series right there.
And it's a great way, again, to look, I'm a firm believer in that you can extract the best content from yourself and others if you exist in conversation with them. It's why podcasting is the mother lode of all content capture forms, right? Like, because it's how you actually speak. And when we're in conversation with each other, we speak like we're talking to other people, which is actually how you should show up online on Correct. Social media, the social part of the media, right? The media is the format, the social is what we're actually doing. But when you're interacting with ChatGPT in that way, you are voicing your opinion and showing how you think, which if you can capture that should be the absolute backbone of your content. Now, what's interesting about ChatGPT's response is that it is an aggregate of everything that it knows and has been trained to know, so we begin to veer into like I don't want to say mediocre because I don't want, but you begin to veer into the non-specific, into the summary, and you can get quite detailed in its responses, but you have to think about where it's sourcing its information from. It also becomes colored by the your conversation history and the bias and preferences that you carry into that conversation. But if you can, this has turned into a show about ChatGPT, but if you understand what ChatGPT is, how it puts together information, how it's generating based on what you input into it, it can become an incredible intellectual sparring partner and help you say the thing you mean to say in the way only you can say it.
Correct. Thanks to the Brit in the Bronx for joining us over on the Gram, like our Gram family being and joining us. We're talking about creating content that sounds like you and not like a robot or a chat GPT. So when content starts to sound generic, I do think that we all recognize it. I do think absolutely, Fly, you have a valid point that there is a lot of generic content out there that it's not, I guess, it's not of value, right? It's just digital noise. And people rely too much on thinking that they have to write for approval instead of writing for connection. They try too hard to sound professional instead of personal. And that's a big, and so like, I see that's a huge issue. Like, I know I've talked to people before, and we've all been in those situations where you can tell that the person is trying to sound smarter than they actually are.
Well, I do it all the time. But yeah, I mean, and actually what's interesting is I historically always choke when I'm trying to sound smart instead of just saying what I have to say. Like when I have been on podcasts or like meetings or interviews or things like that, if I get in my head too much about that, like, oh, I have to say exactly the right thing, and I sort of like rehearse and all this stuff instead of trusting myself in the moment, I completely 100% beef it and choke. Like it's bad. And it was so bad. Anyway, I'm not getting it off on that tangent, but when you're trying to do something like that, you're actually gagging yourself, which is like why I bring up it's funny to say, oh, I totally choked on stage, right? But I'm literally thinking about in your body when you're trying to articulate something, and if you're trying to fit yourself into language that isn't natural to you, it's gonna feel like a sweater that's too tight on your collar, seriously. And so the two sides of this that I see stopping people up is not just the need to sort of like keep up with the Joneses, or like I need to make sure I sound good, or like I can't say anything that's going to make anybody mad, or like be weird, or like whatever, like all this time, like there's a fear part of it. I don't want to say conformity part of it, but there's those things happening. But then there's also another camp related but separate of just like people who are actually extremely confident. I literally don't know what to write. And so it's like, so there's people who are restraining and restricting themselves because of confidence issues, basically, about what they have to say, and who need reassurance. And then there's the other side of people who do not have the practice or the trained skill set of articulating things in any other way than what they see in front of them as being the minimum viable post.
And I think also one of the challenges too is that you've explained it, you get stuck in your head and you think that your social media post is a dissertation, right?
That's me every day.
This is a lady who probably actually wrote a dissertation.
That's a different problem. Good morning, Marcy Moneypenny.
But I mean, but that's the thing, like, right? So we have this thing in our head that tells us, especially if we've been trained to write a certain way. if we've been trained to write a certain way, then we think that that's how social media is supposed to go and how we're supposed to do our posts. Your writing should convey your quirks. It should have the idioms that you use on a regular basis. Yes, I use idioms. That is a word that I use. I'm not trying to sound smart.
I said the word inundated in a conversation yesterday, and I was like, normal people don't say inundated. Anyway, so no, but you keep going.
It also is the rhythm of how you speak. If your friends can't recognize your writing, then it's not in your voice. I should be able, and not everybody has this talent. I should be able to hear you in my head when I read your writing. If I can't hear you, there's an issue and there's a disconnect. Even if I know you really well. If it's not in your cadence, so going back to Chat GPT, when I do prompting and I put a transcript in and I ask Chat, analyze this transcript for so-and-so's voice, tone, and style. I have talked about this before. Voice, tone, and style. Chat is going to analyze the transcript and give you what it thinks the voice, tone, and style is. You read through that and review it and go, is this correct? Is this how this person wants to be portrayed? If it is, awesome. If not, adjust accordingly. Yeah. There are things that you can do to create content that sounds exactly like you. One of the things I recommend my clients do all the time is send me a voice memo. I want your voice memos on and your opinions on this subject.
We have so many comments are popping off. What's up, Jim Ardor?
Okay, interesting. Jim, so that is really interesting that your social media. So now my question to you, Jim, is your social media voice, is it snarkier? Is it more professional? Because I think
and on which platform? Because you're coming in from X.
Yes, and on which platform? Because I am far more snarky on X, which is more my personality and tone. Big smart ass. Versus LinkedIn, where I am, where I'm a little bit, I tone it down just a smidge. Not all the time, because clearly I've had posts where I don't know what post it was where I was talking about, bros before hoes.
I remember that one. No, and you do. And then again, that's scroll stopping, right? And that's actually a quite effective trick that you can do. Or did I just say trick? If you have a certain style or cadence or your signatures and your voice, right? If you disrupt that, that's definitely a way to get attention. And in the example of that, that really worked for you.
Well, I mean, it's more allowing the intrusive thoughts that I normally have come out in my writing. And those are, if you don't know what intrusive thoughts are, God, you're so lucky.
Go on X. X is a feed of intrusive thoughts. X for everybody. That's actually the entire basis of that platform. So, I have this discussion with people, and I think depending on your personality, it's quite natural. I think I know who that is, but I don't know why it always comes up as LinkedIn user with the StreamYard thing. Some people are much better speakers than they are writers, and vice versa. And even in myself, Jim, it varies between platforms, but then also my tone kind of varies between what I'm talking about. And you yourself probably likely speak differently with your closest colleagues versus your acquaintances. And so there is, as much as we talk about wanting to clarify your voice, tone, and style, it is 100% reasonable and maybe sometimes recommended to find some flexibility inside of that, because the way that you write about a proud moment of achievement in your work or a result that you got for your client is going to sound different than if you are vehemently responding to a political situation that's gonna rock your city, right? And you're needing to reach people in a different way. And so like the question again is like, how do you find those things or feel comfortable writing in those in those ways? Or wait, that would be an amazing show. Oh my God, what if we did like a Disney top 10 villains? Like, yes. Oh no, we've gotten so off track.
No, we haven't, because that's all about tone. Because okay, Greg's comment is about hatefluencers, right? You and I, right off the top of our head, we've had comments
immediately. I know you and I both thought the same 5 people.
We did, right? We did. It's the rage bait, it's the clickbait bullshit that shows up on X that we're just like, we know that you're not like this in real life, dude. Like, why?
This is a great, I have to learn to stop talking over you, especially if we're going to start moving on podcasts. But it is the flip side of this is that if you write in a way that is not who you are in person, if there is something in the way that you show up online that is invisible to everybody else, and this is quite common, when they meet you in person, that is going to be incredibly jarring for them. And when they meet you in person is not the time for questions.
Oh, that is so good and so true, right? There's several people that Fly and I discuss on a probably a weekly basis based on the content that they write. And it is always the question of, do they really want to portray themselves this way on social? Because if I were to actually meet this person in real life, honestly, I would probably walk the other way just because of the way that they're showing up on social. They're not showing up in a good way. They're showing up in a very negative way. And like, nobody wants that. Like, you're not going to be in my little positivity bubble. Okay. That's not going to happen. You don't look like a very happy or nice person online. So I don't want to deal with you in real life. Why would I invite that type of energy into my space? So that being said, this all ties into how you sound.
You want to know what though? For some of those people, that is how they sound in real life.
Oof.
Okay, but I don't want to. Let's segue out of focusing on the haters and the negativities and the trolls of the internet. Okay. We don't love you. Goodbye.
So you want to focus on the practical ways that you can write in your own voice?
Okay. I do.
Right. So we've talked about this before, but before you post anything, say it out loud. Say it to yourself. And if it sounds like you, does it sound like something that you'd actually say? Then go ahead and post it. Greg says that he thinks the most important factor is authenticity. Yes, yeah. But not manufactured authenticity, because a lot of people
even have manufactured authenticity.
Yep.
Wait, can you tell me more about what you mean by that?
Yes, absolutely. So there are people out there that, and I've seen this as well, is that they try to manufacture being authentic, and it goes back to seeing them and meeting them in real life, and they're not like that at all, right? So you're expecting a certain person based on their writing and how they interact, and then you get to meet them in real life, and you're just like, oh, there's a disconnect here. You can manufacture authenticity. It's basically you're building a persona, not a real persona, around what you want to be, but you're not that person.
Yeah.
So that's what I mean by manufactured authenticity. It's a way to get people to engage with your content without actually being that person.
Yeah, or really being present in it. Because I think too, the other thing for people who find it easier to show up online or write online or voice their thoughts online than they do, like, say, surrounded by a giant number of people at a big networking group. Like, there's introverts in this industry. Do you know what I mean? But so even if the way that you show up online is a variable of your personality, like, you're still building real relationships with people that should, create opportunities for you to carry that connection over into real life business and conversations and relationships, right? But yeah, I understand now that the manufactured authenticity is hollow. It's hollow, and there's nothing inside of it. And really, again, like the thing I think about, like, again, content inside of something, right? Like the bottle is the format of like what you're putting something into, but the thing that fills the container is what actually has substance. And so manufactured authenticity is like, okay, you're putting something out there, but you as a person, there's no substance. It's not real. I understand now. Okay.
Yeah. It's one of it, and you can see it. You can see when somebody is trying to push it out there, especially if you've already met them in real life and you're like, dude, no. No, this isn't you. So let's talk about, again, back to practical ways that you can write in your own voice. My favorite, I've already mentioned it, is record your voice notes and transcribe them. And then, like I said, ask chat to help you out with that. Analyze how you're using words, right? Don't forget to use your favorite slang, your things that you say all the time. Don't water it down. And you're here to share stories, right? You're here to provide value in a way of sharing a story. How do we know that stories work? Well, most of our history comes from what? Stories that have been passed down from generation to generation. So obviously telling stories is important. That's how you get people to remember you. And so prompts, we had some prompts that we wanted you guys to use to help you find your style. If you write a post, ask yourself, would I actually say this in a conversation? That's a huge one. Would I actually say this in a conversation? If this isn't something that you would tell a client or a prospect or your bestie, then it's probably not something that you should post. However, that being said, I don't want to stop you from posting at all. So just think about some of these things. Like, would I actually have this conversation with this person? Would I say it like this? When we're on social, we're not expecting a dissertation. When we're on social, we're expecting to have a conversation with you, right? That's the whole point. Starting the conversation, starting the relationship, creating connection and community. We don't want to just read some dry. Now, there are people out there that want to read the dry stuff. That's why there's white papers on websites. You can go to a website
and honestly love it. But like when I'm, you know, and if you have things like that, they can be a part of your ecosystem of like what you're sharing and talking about. But like, I'm in a totally different headspace when I'm like, I'm going to read this. I'm going to go read a dissertation. Cause like that is an important part of the work and your work, and share it. But like, you know, you wouldn't, okay, here's what it is. You would not literally like hold up your dissertation and read it out loud to your friend or your coworker. That would be a nightmare. That would be a nightmare scenario. And you would never do it. However, you talk about your work all the time with your colleagues and your clients. And that is what you want to, that is how you want to be communicating data. Because I swear, if you sat your client down and you read every single word, and I understand that there are situations where those kinds of things are important and need to happen. But again, as Mo said, that's not what we're doing here at all.
So Miss Haley Keene, who's joining us on LinkedIn, says, if you leverage AI and it gives you a suggestion that includes a word or phrase that you would never say, please edit it. Yes. Here's a suggestion for ChatGPT or any kind of AI. Get rid of the first sentence. Literally, get rid of the first sentence that it gives you. Start with the second sentence. You don't need the first sentence for the most part, unless it's a banger, then keep it, right? Like if it's really good and it sounds like you and it's something you would say, then yes, keep it. But for the most part, you can get rid of that first sentence for all of those things because it's crap. It's not worth it. We're coming up on time.
I know, I got jabbery. But
it's good because I can't believe we've been jabbering for half an hour already.
But it's all been really...
It has been. So the dinner table test.
Yeah.
If you wouldn't be telling this story at a dinner table with sharing with friends, like, how would you share your story with your besties? How would you tell somebody this story to make it lively and entertaining?
And what I love about that one is also like the specificity of if you're delivering, you know, you're generating content for yourself, you're doing a voice note, whatever, like speak to them, actually speak to them as if you were like, and then you can also write that way as well. And the content, both in form and in substance, will be immeasurably better if it's written with a singular person in mind. Now, you're not going to name that person, but if you have somebody very specific in mind that you're trying to reach, you know, with this particular message, if you hold them in your mind and write as if you were speaking directly to them, it's going to be 100% more powerful and compelling and relatable to a larger number of people, actually.
I love that. And I think that's a great practice that people, if you've been having challenges writing content, how would you explain what you're doing or whatever the story is? Think about that one person, to your mom, to your dad, to a sibling, maybe to a best friend, right? How would you explain that story? And that's how we want you to write it. That's how we want you to process it. Now, that might not be something that you post on social because you're just like, this doesn't sound right. But if you get into the practice of writing like that, like you're talking to a friend, then I fully believe that your responses on social will be a lot more engaging. They'll be a lot more, you'll find your community and your connection. Dwayne, I like that word, specificity.
Specificity. Let's continue this on Thursday to talk about more ways to start telling stories and identifying your voice. I think that we have enough here to continue the conversation.
I do too. Yeah, absolutely. Yes, Jim, absolutely. Make them more conversational. And that's the point. We want to start these conversations. We want to start these connections. I fully believe that your social media should be about building community. When you're talking about a brand and you're working for a brand, it's still building a community, but it's building a community of rabid fans. People who will go to the ends of they will go scorched earth to defend you, right? And when you're building a personal brand, you're building a community so that people will be there for you no matter what happens. Whether it's somebody reaching out to you, true. Whether it's somebody reaching out to you, like, you know, DMing saying, hey, is everything good? Like, I know we've talked about this before. People have reached out. I noticed your writing's a little different, or I noticed you seem a little sad. Are you good? That means that you've connected. Like, you might not have ever met them in person, but you've connected in some way, and they were prompted to reach out to you to make sure everything was good. That's building an important community.
Oh, Dwayne.
Aw, thanks.
We're proud of all of you. Okay.
Yeah, all right. Good morning. Okay. Everybody, we will be back here on Thursday, same bat time, same bat channel. We'll be talking about your authentic voice and how to create content around that. Don't forget, we have Social Mastery VIP. It's where we talk about the whole marketing ecosystem. We'd love to have you join us there, and we will see you next time. Have a great week.